Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Curtis and I'm going to be taking you through our webinar titled All in the Family. And so what we're going to be covering today is specifically just the family section in Redtail and then how it interacts between those different contact records who are linked together as a family. And so what we're going to start with today is on my screen, you're going to see we're already in a contact record. We're going to be using Corey Matthews as our example today and the Matthews family. Let's first talk about how the family is set up inside Redtail. And so right when we're looking at Corey, we see that he's married to Topanga Lawrence Matthews, and then we have this right here where it says the Matthews family. This field where it says the Matthews family is referred to as the family name. And that's going to be used in relation to when you're printing like mail merges or labels or different items inside out of the database. And so when I click on that, it's going to take me and I'm going to see the family structure. So right away I can see that Corey Matthews is set up as the head of household. I also have Topanga set up over here to the right hand side as the spouse. And then below that we have their children, Augie and Riley. So if at any point in time you do need to reorder anybody in the family, you'll notice that each individual has this linking button to the top right of their section. I can click on it and it shows the contact name and then what the relationship is. So if you do need to change it to, for instance, grandchild or other, you can do so. If I go over to the spouse, I can do the same thing and you'll see there's other options. I have spouse, grandchild, other. If you ever need to change who's listed as the head of household, that's going to be done in the top right hand corner with this gear icon. And then I have the ability to choose change head. And so once I do that, it's going to list out all of the available members of the family section, and then you can select who is the head of household. So if I did need to switch that over to Topanga, I can select her and then hit reset family head. What happens with that is she will move over to the section of head of household, and then Corey's record would move over to the spouse section. Now I'm going to jump back over to Corey's record, and if you haven't set up a family yet, you're not going to see the information of who they're married to if there's a spouse or who the family is, the family name. But what you will see is it'll say create a new family right up here. And so again, it now says Mr. and Mrs. Matthews. If you need to change that information, you can click on the family name again after it's created, and then choose the action button and then edit. And then right from there, you can choose or change what it says in the family name. All right, let's jump back one more time to Corey Matthews. Now, there's a few fields that get shared between the head of household contact record and anybody linked in the family. And that's going to be listed over here in the contact card. And those two fields exist as the home phone number and the home address. So if I do want to add a home phone number, which I can see there's just a mobile and a work, I can choose add and then choose phone. And you'll notice at the very top, it's going to give me the option to choose what the type is. And this is home type of home. I also have direct dial, fax, mobile, other, toll-free, and work. But the home address or the home phone number and the home address are the only two contact card fields that get shared between the head of household and everybody else in the family. I'm going to cancel out this. We're not actually going to add a home phone number, but you will notice that we have a home address. All right, so we got 15 St. Margaret's Lane in New York, New York. That's the actual address for Corey Matthews in his record. If I click over on Topanga's record by clicking back up on the top on her name, what I'm going to see is that same address in her contact card over here. So 15 St. Margaret's Lane. And if I choose to edit it, what you're going to notice is there's a banner up at the top. So this is a shared address. Any changes made here will be reflected in the head of household's address as well as any other family members' records with whom it is shared. So again, this address is originally located in Corey's record, but it's showing on Topanga's record and also their children's because they all live in a home. And that's a good thing to keep in mind, is the family section is only used for anybody who is dependent on the head of household. So if you're thinking to yourself, should this child go into the family or into our other section of relationships called memberships, if they are dependent on the head of household, they belong in the family name section. If not, they belong in the memberships, which is hidden over to the left-hand side here under the word more. and you can click on memberships. So that's essentially where you'd put any grown children who do not live in the house. All right, let's also talk about other things that are shared between the family, and we have things like notes and accounts. So right now, we're in Topanga's record, and if I come over to the left-hand side and underneath her name, click on Notes, it's going to take me to the main note page for this contact record. And what you'll notice, it does say Contact Notes over here, but on the right-hand side, I have Note Filters, and just below that, there's a box that says Show Family Notes. So since this is unchecked, right now the notes that are in this page are specifically made in Topanga's record. They might have been copied as well from one that was made in Corey's, but this note exists in Topanga's record. If I choose the box to check family, show family notes, and hit apply, it's going to show me any note that was made in anybody in the family's record. And so once I check that and hit apply, it doesn't matter whose record I go to next. Family notes are going to be showing on all contact records no matter what, or until I uncheck that box. And so right now I can easily look and see, this first note right here, Corey called in, it's attached to the contact of Corey Matthews. Same with the one below it. But this one right here, where it doesn't have a contact, is the note that actually exists in Topanga's record. So if I jump over to Corey's record by clicking on his name, I can go over to his notes on the left-hand side, and I'm going to see the same thing. So Show Family Notes is still selected, and all of the notes, now these ones are in his record, there's no other name. If I scroll down, I'm going to see Topanga's name and where the notes that were made in her record directly. So you always have the ability to make notes in just the head of household record and still be able to view them and anybody else inside the family. Now, other things that are shared as well are going to be the account. So if you have an account feed filling in, I can come over here to the right-hand side. I can click on the portfolio balance. Right now, this balance is only going to be showing the contact record you're in, but once I click on it, I can go in and you're going to see there's actually more accounts in here than just listed. So it's the number for the actual balance is a little higher. And what you'll notice if you go through, some of these accounts have a family tag on them. And when you hover over that family tag, it tells you where that account actually exists. So I know that this account is in Topanga's record. Same as this one right up here. It says Topanga Lawrence Matthews. This account is actually in her record. I know that because up at the top, I am seeing all family accounts, and this defaults on. If I need to turn it off, I can come over to options on the right-hand side and choose hide family accounts. And again, just like the notes page, once I turn that on or off, it's going to be like that for every contact I go into. So same thing if I now go into Topanga's record by clicking on her name, clicking on her portfolio balance, I'm only going to see her accounts. But if I want to see the whole family accounts, I choose options in the top right and show family accounts. And now it's going to bring everybody's account who exists in the family. Most of those exist in Corey Matthews' record. All right, next thing I do want to talk about is back a little bit on notes. When you do happen to create a note, and let's say that you want the note to exist in two different contexts, like you want to make a note in Topanga's record, but always also have it copied over to Corey's record, what you can do is I'm going to use the quick add icon in the top right, and then I'm going to choose notes. Because I'm in Topanga's record, it's going to automatically make it in hers, so her name's right up at the top. I can fill out my note information right here. I can still choose to categorize it, but this box right here, copy to another contact. So most of the time when we see this used, it's because you're making the note in one spouse and you want it to be copied over to the other spouse's record as well. So here I can type in Matthews, locate Corey's name, and then any note I type in here and hit save is going to make one note in Topanga's and an exact copy of that note in Corey's record as well. Now again, normally why you would want to make the note twice, the only real reason I can think of is at any point in time, if the couple does separate and you break them from the family and set up their own family accounts separate from each other, you're going to have all of their notes still with them without having to copy them later on. Because if everything's just made in the head of household record, then if the spouse does split off, there's certain notes that you still want in her record because you still have history. You would have to then copy them over. But if they're made in both contact records at the same time, that's something you won't have to worry about later on down the line. Now, the family name is very useful, especially in regards to creating labels. So what we're going to do is first pull up a search result. We're going to search for people by their family to see like the head of households, and then we're going to run labels and like a mail merge to show you how those fields are actually used. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to go to Contacts, and then up at the top, I'm going to click up on Advanced Search. And now I have the ability to create a search. And so I'm going to search by any contact status who has the status of active client first. So my type is going to be contact. My field is going to be status. Operand will be equal to, and I'm going to choose active client. And I want to see all active clients who are marked as head of household. And so I'm going to choose and on the right-hand side. And now I'm going to narrow it down by family. And I can choose head of household equal to true. And once I run that search, it'll show me all of my active status clients who are the head of household. Because if I'm going to run labels, I only want to pull it for one person in the family. And normally I want to pull it out of the head of household record because that's where the primary address mainly exists. So you'll see also on this page, I have my list, and this little house tells me that this contact is the head of household. Even though it is part of my search, I can still see if I have a list of multiple people, if that person is the head of household or not, by the little yellow house icon. Now, if I did want to run labels, I can select all on the left-hand side here. I'm only going to select the first 50 of this page, but if you need to select all of them, make sure and choose the select all 153. And then I can choose contact options in the top right, and then I can select labels. So when I first choose the labels, you're going to see I have a list of all different Avery numbers. Most popular one is the Avery 5160. I have the option where it just has blank right next to here. What that's going to do is pull a label for every single contact record and use their first and last name. So any contact record that's selected, it'll print a label for and use their name field, first, last name, and any other parts that's in their name field. But if I choose 5160 family names, it's actually going to put the family name field, so Mr. and Mrs. Matthews, or however I label it, as the top, and then their primary address right below it. So I can hit the create labels. It's going to automatically download and I can open it up. And let me bring that over here for you. And you'll see here I have my labels. I'm going to zoom in. And it has the family names. We see Mr. and Mrs. Adams, Mr. Adams, the Allen family. Now, the actual family name, again, is freeform text, so you can choose however you want it to appear. And in your labels, again, if you don't see an actual address appear, either that contact doesn't have an address in their database, or they do, and that address is not marked as primary. So it's very important that you mark at least one address per contact as a primary address. And again, also, if there's individual, like single people who don't have others in their family, you still want to create a family name for them, so that way it establishes them as the head of household, because we don't want to leave the individual single people out. We still want to have everything here. So all families listed as their family name, like the Balboa family, and then we have Troy Barnes right here. So he's by himself. We don't want to say maybe the Barnes family. It's just going to be Troy Barnes because he is a single person. And again, that is all up to you and how you want to fill out those family names. Now that's the family name labels. You can also run a mail merge. And for this particular one, I'm actually going to go back into Corey's record. I'm going to use our recently viewed in the top right-hand corner. And then I'm going to choose Corey Matthews right up at the top. It shows me like my last 15 contact records. And I'm going to run an individual mail merge specifically for Corey Matthews, but I want it to still be addressed to the family. So I had already created an invite, so an actual mail merge invite that lists the family name with their address and also fills out the first name of the contact record that we're starting from and also the first name of their spouse. So to run the mail merge in an individual contact, I'm going to go to the common tasks in the top right-hand corner. I'm going to then choose mail merge. and I can select my mail merge. And I'm going to choose, we have event invite is the one I created, and I'm going to run that mail merge. It's going to download, and I'll open it up here again, and I'll bring it over. So again, you can run this the same way how we did the label. So if you have a whole bunch of people you're sending an invite to, but now you'll see that I have the family name filled out up here. Mr. and Mrs. Matthews has their address, and then hi Corey and Topanga automatically fills out. So because I had the spouse filled out, I was able to create a mail merge template that had the ability to pull that information. So it's specifically going to them in a more personalized feel once I send that out, as opposed to something like Dear Valued Customer. Now, if you do want to set up mail merges, we do have plenty of documentation and also videos from past webinars and how to go through and set up that information. But once it is, you can see how great it is to have the family name and create those for all of your contacts, so that way they're linked together, and all of your documentation that you send out is going to be very uniform from there. Well, that about wraps up all the information in regards to the family section in Redtail. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any questions, please give us a call at 1-800-206-5030, and you can always email support@redtailtechnology.com. Thank you so much, and have a great day.